welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something really practical, finding short-term rentals in Shanghai.
Yeah, it's a big topic. Lots of people heading their business, maybe relocating, even just longer trips. And finding that right spot is, well, it's key.
Exactly. Hotels are fine, but short-term places, they offer something different, right?
Mm.
Flexibility, maybe more space, a bit more local feel.
Totally. You get to live a bit more like you're actually in the city, not just visiting.
So for this deep dive, our main source is moveandstay.com. And these guys aren't new to the game.
No, definitely not. They've been helping expats and business folks find places across Asia for, what, over 25 years now?
Yeah, incredible. Think about how much Shanghai's rental scene must have changed in that time. So our mission basically is to pull out the essential stuff from their insights.
Right. Distill it down so you listeners feel, prepared and not overwhelmed.
Because, let's be honest, Shanghai's rental market can seem pretty complex at first glance.
Mm-hmm. So many options, different rules. It can feel like a lot, but hopefully we can bring some clarity.
Okay, let's jump in. First up, just getting the lay of the land. Moveandstay.com says the short-term market there is, well, booming.
Yeah, it's a really popular alternative to hotels now for all sorts of travelers. That flexibility is a big draw.
And it's not just one type of rental, is it? They break it down.
Exactly. You've got options depending what you need. First, there are serviced apartments.
Right. Those are kind of like a hotel apartment hybrid. More space, maybe a kitchen, but still some services like cleaning.
Yeah, pretty much. The article suggests they're often good for shorter stays where you want that convenience.
Okay. Then you've just got regular apartments or even houses.
Mm-hmm. More space again, definitely more privacy. Good if you're bringing family or maybe staying for a few months.
Makes sense. And the third type?
Private rooms. So renting a room within a shared apartment, that's usually the more budget-friendly way to go.
Right. Maybe good for solo travelers or students trying to save some cash.
Exactly. So the first step is really figuring out, okay, what kind of space fits my trip, my budget.
Okay, so you know what type you want. Where do you actually find these places? Online, I assume.
Mostly, yeah. The article points to a few key platforms. It's kind of a mix of local Chinese sites and more international ones.
Like Z-Room. That one comes up. Sounds like it's big locally.
Very popular, yeah. One thing to note, though, is the language barrier. If you don't read Mandarin, you'll likely need translation tools.
Good heads up.
Yeah.
But the article mentions something important. They apparently verify their listings.
That's a huge plus. It adds a layer of security, which is really valuable when you're renting somewhere unfamiliar. They might even have some English support staff, maybe VR tours.
Okay, that sounds pretty helpful. But there's a catch. A fee.
Yeah, usually a service fee, maybe around 10%, so you pay a bit for that verification and service.
Worth knowing. It's that trade-off, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pay a bit more for peace of mind versus trying to find a deal on maybe a less secure platform.
Exactly. Verification costs something, but it reduces risk.
What about other platforms? Ctrip is mentioned. I know them as Trip.com internationally.
Right, their local version. Apparently, it's a good bet if you're traveling with pets. They have specific filters for pet-friendly places.
Oh, that's super specific, but really useful if you need it.
Definitely. Shows how platforms specialize.
Then there's WeChat groups. That sounds a bit more informal.
It is. You might find direct rentals there, maybe cut out the middleman, potentially get a better price.
But I sense a but coming.
Oh, yeah. Big but. You need to be really careful. The risk of scams is much higher when you're dealing direct like that, especially through social media.
Right. Lots more homework needed on your end to verify everything.
For sure. And they also mentioned Smart Shanghai, apparently useful for finding shared apartments specifically.
Okay, so quite a few avenues, each with its own pros and cons, ease of use, cost, security.
Mm-hmm. You got to weigh those up.
All right, so you're browsing online, but what about the legal side? This seems pretty crucial.
Oh, absolutely. You can't ignore this. The article really stresses the legal stuff, like owners need proper licenses to rent short-term in Shanghai.
It's not just a free-for-all then. And there are new regulations too, something about investment properties.
Yeah, the rules seem to be evolving, potentially restricting rentals in properties bought purely for investment. It's complex.
So how do you protect yourself as a renter?
Key piece of advice. Always ask to see the owner's ID and the property certificate. That proves they actually own the place legally.
Don't just take their word for it. Get the proof.
Exactly. It's fundamental. And linked to that, the article warns, if a price looks way too good to be true.
It probably is. Classic advice, but important here. Sticking to reputable platforms helps avoid a lot of that risk.
Definitely. It circles back to that value and verification, even if it costs a bit more through somewhere like Zeroom. Peace of mind.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. Location. We all know it's important, but in a city like Shanghai, it seems massive.
It's huge, and where you choose to stay massively impacts your whole experience, right? Your commute, what's around you, the general vibe.
So the article breaks down some popular areas.
Yeah, gives a feel for them, like Jing'an or Xinqiandi, described as really lively. Nightlife, trendy spots, very central, mix of old and new buildings.
Sounds cool, but maybe downsides too. Pricey, noisy.
That's the trade-off mentioned, yeah. Likely more expensive and definitely could be louder. Depends what you're looking for.
Okay, what about somewhere different? Pudong.
Pudong's painted as quieter, more residential. It's where Disneyland is, too. Often bigger places there, serviced apartments maybe, so potentially better for families or longer stays.
Right, if you don't need to be right in the thick of things constantly.
Mm-hmm. And then for budget options, areas like Minhang District are suggested.
Further out, though, longer commute.
That's the deal, yeah. More affordable, but you'll spend more time traveling into the center.
Which brings us right to commuting and getting around. Shanghai's metro system is amazing, right?
Fantastic system. The advice is get familiar with the lines, figure out which ones you'll need, how close the stations are to places you're considering.
Don't just look at a map. Actually think about the daily grind.
Exactly. And taxis, apparently, how easy it is to grab one can vary quite a bit depending on where you are.
And just walkability, too. Getting to a supermarket or coffee shop.
Yeah.
Especially, if it's raining or super hot.
Totally. The article even suggests doing a test run of your potential commute during rush hour.
Oh, that's smart. What looks like 20 minutes on an app at midday could be an hour in peak traffic.
You got it. And beyond transport, think amenities. What do you need nearby? Supermarket, gym, park, certain types of restaurants.
Make a checklist, maybe.
Yeah, great idea. What are your non-negotiables for the neighborhood? It's not just the flat itself.
Right, it's the whole package.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense for a short-term stay where you want to hit the ground running.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's circle back to those online platforms. The search usually starts there, right? And looking at multiple sites is key.
Definitely. Don't just check one. So revisiting Zeroom and Ctrip. Zeroom has that verification, the VR tours potentially, maybe English help, but the fee.
And Ctrip's angle is the pet-friendly options.
Mm-hmm. Then those WeChat groups again. Potential for deals, but really high caution needed. We hear stories about scams there.
Yeah, you really need your wits about you.
Yeah.
Is the potential saving worth the risk? Maybe not.
Often, probably not. It's safer on the main platforms. Comparing prices across those platforms is vital too.
And look out for hidden costs, cleaning fees, utilities.
Exactly. Get a clear breakdown. Smart Shanghai Housing is mentioned as a good place to just start getting a feel for price ranges.
And the absolute golden rule seems like.
See it in person if you possibly can. Photos can be, let's say, optimistic.
Yeah. Or get a video call walkthrough. Or ask a friend who's there.
Definitely. Anything to avoid turning up to something completely different from the pictures.
Okay, so you've found a place, you've seen it, hopefully.
Yeah.
Now actually securing it. Negotiations at a thing.
Apparently, yes. The article suggests you shouldn't be afraid to, haggle a bit, especially on monthly rent.
Really? Okay. What else? Management fees. Utilities included, maybe.
Worth asking about all of that. Be polite, know your budget, be firm, and the absolute must-do.
Get everything.
In writing. Even stuff agreed verbally, every single detail. And ask about payment schedules monthly is usually better for cash flow than paying quarterly up front.
Good tip. Now, scams. We touched on fake listings, but what about tactics used by agents or landlords?
Yeah, the article flags one, showing you rubbish places first, ones that don't fit your criteria at all.
To make the next place look better. Or wear you down.
Probably both. The advice is be assertive. Say, no, this isn't what I asked for. Show me things that match my list.
Don't waste time. And watch out for high-pressure tactics like sign now or lose it.
Big red flag. Also, huge deposits, refusing viewings, contracts only in Chinese with no translation. Nope.
Walk away. And again, ask for that owner ID. Check reviews online if you can.
It all helps build a picture and understand those service fees properly. What do they actually cover?
Right. Sometimes a low rent hides high fees for building management, internet, cleaning.
Exactly. Zeroom's 10% reportedly covers some specifics like Wi-Fi, maybe cleaning. But you need clarity. Fees can vary a lot between agencies.
Okay, another big choice. Furnished or unfurnished? Seems obvious for short term, you'd want furnished.
Mostly, yeah. It's way easier. Less upfront, cost buying furniture saves loads of time. Usually includes basics like bedding, towels. Ideal for shorter stays.
But it costs more in rent, right?
Generally,
Yeah.
yes. So if you were staying for, say, a year or more, you might find it cheaper long term to rent unfurnished and buy your own stuff.
Okay. But then you have the hassle of buying it all and getting rid of it when you leave.
Precisely. Unfurnished means you get the basic structure and that's it. You buy everything. Total control, but big effort and cost up front.
And you need to be super clear with the landlord what unfurnished actually means. Like, are kitchen appliances included, aircon?
Absolutely critical to clarify every detail of what stays and what goes.
So furnished for convenience and short stays, unfurnished maybe for longer stays if you're up for the setup.
That sums it up pretty well. Depends on your situation.
Let's talk money then. The actual costs. What kind of price ranges are we looking at? Ballpark.
Well, the article emphasizes it varies wildly. Location, size, amenities. Service apartments are pricier. They give examples like £50 to £200 a night, but that's just indicative.
And monthly is cheaper per night, but a bigger chunk up front.
Right. And remember those potential hidden extras we talked about?
Cleaning fees, service fees, utilities if they're not included, the security deposit.
Yeah, you absolutely need a full breakdown before you sign anything. No surprises.
So, budgeting advice. Know your max spend, factor in all living costs, have a buffer.
And maybe save costs by staying slightly further out, being strict about which amenities you really need, cooking more.
Standard saving tips, but really important in an expensive city.
Definitely. Every little bit helps.
Okay, one last area, resources. Especially for expats. There's help out there, right?
Loads. The article highlights community groups, forums online, great for connecting, asking questions, getting tips from people already there.
Like Facebook groups. Or sites like Internations.
Exactly, those kinds of places. And maybe even in-person meetups. That community knowledge can be invaluable.
What about real estate agents? Worth using.
Can be, yeah. Good local agents know the market inside out, might find places not listed online, help with negotiation, paperwork.
Look for one specializing in expats, maybe. But expect to pay a commission.
Yes, definitely find someone reputable, ideally with expat experience. And yeah, there'll be a fee involved.
And apps beyond the main rental platform.
Local apps like Lujiazui or Anjuk are mentioned. They might have even more listings, virtual tours, direct chat.
Language barrier potential again, though.
Could be. Keep those translation apps handy. And check online expat guides too. They often list useful apps and resources.
So the bottom line seems to be, finding the right place takes effort. Use all the tools, ask for help, be patient.
Absolutely. It's an investment of time, but finding a place you're happy with makes such a difference to your whole Shanghai experience.
Okay, so wrapping this deep dive up, navigating Shanghai's short-term rentals really comes down to a few key things.
Yeah, understanding the types of places, using the right platforms wisely, being super careful about the legal side and scams.
Really thinking through location and all the costs, and tapping into those expat resources and local knowledge, and maybe drawing on the kind of long-term experience that places like movesandstay.com represent.
Exactly. Research, ask questions, don't get rushed.
Solid advice. So here's a final thought to leave everyone with.
Okay.
We've seen how much the market has likely changed over the last 25 years, the kind of period Move and Stay has been operating. Looking ahead, say, another 25 years. With cities evolving so fast, people moving around more, how do you think the short-term rental scene in places like Shanghai might change even more? What innovations might we see?
Oh, that's a big question. Building on what exists now, more integration with smart home tech, even more flexible lease terms. AI matching renters to places is fascinating to think about.